You're not really ready until you're safe. Summer safely and drive calm.
If you have hearing loss and need captions to understand phone calls, Caption Call is your answer. Caption Call works just like a regular phone, but with easy-to-read captions of what the other person is saying. To learn more, visit captioncall.com/sound advice. Understanding phone calls has never been easier with Caption Call.
KSL's Unrivaled. The teams you live for. The sports you love. Scott Mitchell and Alex Keary on KSL News Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's KSL's Unrivaled. Scott Mitchell, thanks for being with us on the program. Second hour of the show. I just can't get enough of this NBA Summer League, Scott. Yeah, I know you're riveted. Scott's like,
based on the other choices I have of watching the televisions in a news studio,
I know.
I'm picking the sports channel.
I want to apologize.
I don't care what it is.
Scott, for the last 3 years almost on this show, I've forced you to watch CNN, Fox News, and the top right, MSNBC. Now, those are just on because we're in the KSL studio. We only have the ability to change one of these TV stations, so it's this like weird thing. Do we watch The Bachelorette? Do we watch sports? Sports wins out tonight. So here we are. And joining us right now on the program, Trevor Allen. He covers the Utes for KSLSports.com right here with us on the program. It's been a couple weeks since we chatted with you, Trevor, at Pac-12 Media Day. What do we know about Utah football, and can you name Charlie Brewer the starter yet?
I mean, personally for me, I've actually said going into camp that Charlie Brewer should be the starter just because of all the experience he's had. And, you know, with Cam Rising coming off of that injury, I just feel like that Charlie has that upper hand. Even without the injury, I feel like Charlie still would anyway. And he just has shown so well since he showed up on campus, and with Cam Rising having to catch back up to speed, and now that his shoulder's 100%. But as far as of what we know about Utah football is that we're just waiting on this quarterback battle. There's a couple of other battles being played out in fall camp, but those, I mean, for the most part, I think we have an idea. But yeah, it's all about the quarterback battle right now.
What are those other battles then? I'm curious.
Well, there's the running back battle. Right now there's 4 guys, and there's actually a name that hasn't been thrown around until we started going into camp. Tavion Thomas, he's a guy out of Independence Community College. Kyle Whittingham compared him to Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans.
He's a beast.
That ought to tell you something. Yeah. So he came in a little out of shape. He was at 240 pounds. Kyle Whittingham now said that he's down to about 230. Probably going to lose a little bit more than that now. But yeah, he's actually a guy who he says could, shows a lot of promise. And that, he wasn't really looked at as a guy who could come in right away and play, because you've got TJ Pledger, you've also got Mekhi Bernard, and you've also got Chris Curry, and then you have a guy out of the 2021 class named Ricky Parks. So, I mean, he was kind of a guy that we weren't really looking at, but right now it's a 4-horse race between Pledger, Bernard, Tavion Thomas, and Chris Curry. And then you have that other safety spot with R.J. Hubert likely out for the season, and with Nate Ritchie, who showed really well in his first season. Kid out of Lone Peak High School. He's going on a 2-year church mission. So who's going to start alongside Vontae Davis? Right now I think it's down to Kamoy Latu or Cole Bishop.
See, I'm going with Chris Curry as the running back because you always have to pick food. So he's named after food, and I love curry, so he's my choice.
Scott, you'd be a great coach at the collegiate level.
Oh, yeah.
Any
food choices, it trumps everything.
This is the kind of resume-building stuff that people want to know about. Trevor, one of the things that I think a lot of people wondered about, I say a lot of people, I mean even the coaches we chatted with at Pac-12 Media Day, and, we talked with Coach Whittingham about this. We've discussed it before, even in spring. The wide receivers was a question mark. That position group was a question mark. How is that group looking in terms of where they've come along and adding, subtracting, and then adding guys back again? Where are they at right now in terms of being good targets for whoever the quarterback's going to end up being?
I feel like that they have a ton of depth. I mean, people were not very high on the Utes at the wide receiver position after losing Samson Nakua to BYU and Brian Thompson down to Arizona State. People were like, oh, what's going on here? You've got Brent Covey and Solomon Enos. Those are your only options. But then you've got a guy who's emerged in spring ball in Devon Vele. Guys have been very high on him. You've also got Jalen Dixon back. He didn't play at all last year. Basically spent the year in the transfer portal. Was still enrolled at Utah, but then chose to come back. He's another speedster who can be used in that jet sweep or another threat alongside Braden Covey in that slot. And then you've also got two transfers who come in. Theo Howard, he's got a ton of experience playing for the Bruins over in Westwood, and then just coming off of a year with the Oklahoma Sooners, who won the Big 12 title. He's a guy who has championship experience and has talked about one of the reasons why he wanted to go to Utah is because he wanted to help them win a Pac-12 championship. So that really just stands out to what Utah is able to do. But as far as playmakers, I feel like Utah is set. It's just a matter of finding that quarterback and starting to build that chemistry among them.
A little bit of concern on the offensive line. What do you know with the offensive line?
I know that they're really – I don't think that they're as deep as we all thought that they would be. I mean, you've got a couple of guys. Jaron Kump showed really well playing at that right tackle spot. And then, you end up moving Simi Moala over to left tackle when Nick Ford moved from tackle into center. You lose Orlando Amana. But I feel like you have probably 5 or 6 guys right now. But, Scott, as you know, Jim Harding likes to go about 9-10 guys deep to be able to find those guys. But, someone who's really shown out well is Bamidele Olaseni. He's that big-time JUCO transfer from a couple of years ago. It took him a while. It took him about, he ended up coming in mid-year in 2019 and then just really could not get a grasp of that offense and just really trying to get his footwork right, trying to be able to be that threat because he's got a huge body. I think he's like 6'7",
a big man.
6'8".
He is a big man. You got to be a big man, Trevor. If your name's Bam, right? You just have to be big.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I think Kyle Whittingham was like trying to compare his wingspan like Rudy Gobert, which I thought was a little insane. I'm just like, okay, that's a little bit different here, but he's actually a guy who could really factor in, especially playing at a tackle, helping out Jaron Kump and Simi Moala. But I think you're set at guard with Keaton Bills, Braden Daniels. You've also got Johnny Maea, and Sataoa Lamea. He's another guy who really showed well in 2020. Had kind of that breakout season. So I feel like right now there's probably about 6 guys, but you want to make sure you get to 9 or 10 because through this rigorous, tough Pac-12 schedule, you're going to have guys go down, and you've got to have that. You can't have much of a drop-off when you go to the backups.
Trevor, last question here for you. Obviously the coach's preseason poll does not mean anything except for the people like us who really love breaking all these things down and looking and seeing kind of where Utah is put, local teams put here. Utah 26 as the others receiving vote category. Is that where they should be, or is that a slight to them? Is that overrating them? And where do you think that ultimately they could end up by year's end?
I think that they were a little too low. I feel like that they could really easily have cracked probably the top 20, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at some of the teams who were ranked ahead of them, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana, Washington, I still feel like the jury's out on them, especially because they've lost a lot of guys, and their quarterback play is, to me, just average. And I feel like that they'll have a really good defense, but when you lose a guy like Puka Nacua to BYU, I feel like that they're hurting a little bit, and to try and put it all together. But I feel like Oregon, we all knew was going to be that sexy name. Same with the USC Trojans, even though they lost a lot of guys to the portal, and then also to the NFL. But I feel like that people are really riding this Keaton Slovis, that he's a Heisman candidate and things like that. So a lot of the coaches and a lot of the voters feel like that the Trojans are going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I feel like, for right now, weighing at a 26, I feel like that's okay.
All right.
I honestly think Utah probably could have be up in that 19-18 range.
Trevor Allen, you can read him at KSLSports.com, and covers the Utes and much more on KSLSports.com. Trevor, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Guys, it is always a pleasure.
All right, we'll take the break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go on the program. Hey, we talked some Utes. Let's talk some Cougars. BYU TVs and KSL 5 TV for tonight. Spencer Linton's going to join us on the program. So stay with us. More to go right here on KSL's Unrivaled on KSL News Radio.